2 guards asked Black Marine to leave his son's graduation. Then 6 SEALs silenced the room. The auditorium buzzed with excitement as families gathered, cameras in hand, to capture one of life's proudest milestones. A young man in cap and gown waited to hear his name, ready to walk the stage and claim his diploma. But amid the cheers, 2 uniformed guards approached a tall black man sitting quietly in the crowd. Without hesitation, they demanded he leave. What they didn't know was that this man wasn't just any father. He was a decorated Marine, and in the next few moments, 6 Navy SEALs would rise from their seats, turning a cruel act of prejudice into a moment no one would ever forget. It was a day that symbolized more than just academic achievement. It was a passage into adulthood, a testament to years of discipline, late nights, and family sacrifices. For Marcus Taylor, a Black Marine veteran with 20 years of service, this graduation wasn't about him. It was about his son, Jordan, the boy he had raised with the same values he carried into the battlefield: integrity, respect, and resilience. Marcus arrived early, dressed simply in a pressed shirt and jacket. He carried no banners, made no noise, just a proud father, waiting to see his son's milestone. The auditorium was packed, the air heavy with laughter, clapping, and the occasional shriek of excited children. Families exchanged hugs, snapped selfies, and waved at students lining up in the wings. Marcus's presence should have been invisible, just another father among hundreds. But he wasn't. His broad shoulders and deep dark skin drew glances. Whispered words followed him as he found his seat in the middle rows. He ignored them. He was used to being watched in places where he didn't quite fit the picture that others thought belonged. Unbeknownst to Marcus, seated several rows away were 6 men who instantly recognized him. They weren't strangers. They were Navy SEALs, some of whom had trained alongside him in joint operations overseas. To them, he wasn't a threat. He was a brother in arms. A man who had risked everything for the very country whose freedom was now being celebrated with pomp and circumstance. But prejudice rarely asks questions before it acts. As the principal prepared to start the ceremony, 2 security guards began scanning the crowd, and soon their eyes landed on Marcus. The guards moved quickly, their radios crackling at their belts, their posture rigid as if they were marching toward an intruder. Families quieted as whispers rippled through the auditorium. Jordan, waiting behind the stage curtain, couldn't see his father but sensed something had shifted in the atmosphere. "Sir, you need to come with us," one of the guards said flatly. Marcus looked up, startled but calm. "Excuse me? You don't belong here. We've had complaints," the guard replied, his tone more command than request. Marcus's chest tightened, but he forced his voice to remain even. "I'm here for my son's graduation." The second guard stepped closer, crowding him. "We'll need to see proof, ID, ticket, whatever you've got. Otherwise, you're out." Around them, mothers pulled their children closer, unsure of what was happening but unwilling to intervene. Phones started to rise, discreetly recording. It wasn't the first time Marcus had been asked to prove his right to exist in a space. But this time, it was different. This was his son's day. With steady hands, Marcus reached for his wallet, but the guard waved dismissively. "Save it. Let's go." Marcus stood slowly, his height towering over them, his military bearing unmistakable. His voice was firm, calm, and laced with authority earned over decades. "I served this country for 20 years. I bled for it, and today I came here for one reason: to watch my son graduate. I'm not leaving." The guards exchanged a look, uneasy but determined to assert control. The murmurs grew louder. People were beginning to realize this wasn't about safety. It was about something uglier. And then, it happened. From across the auditorium, 6 men rose in unison. Dressed in civilian clothes, they didn't look like soldiers, but their presence was commanding. One by one, they walked toward Marcus, their eyes locked on the guards. They weren't strangers. They were Navy SEALs. Men who had fought alongside him in hostile lands. Men who knew his courage firsthand. When they reached him, they didn't say a word. They simply formed a line beside him, shoulders squared, eyes forward. The symbolism was unmistakable. They were showing the room, the guards, and everyone watching that Marcus Taylor was not alone. The tension thickened. The guards hesitated, their authority slipping away as the crowd began murmuring with disapproval. Parents shook their heads. Some stood, and for the first time, the guards realized they had miscalculated. The principal's microphone squealed as he tried to calm the restless audience, but it was too late. The confrontation had already stolen the spotlight from the ceremony. The lead guard tried one last attempt at control. "Gentlemen, this isn't your concern. Please sit down." One of the SEALs finally spoke, his voice low but cutting through the room like a blade. It is our concern. That man is our brother. You will not remove him from his son's graduation." The auditorium erupted in applause. Cheers echoed off the walls, parents stomping their feet, students clapping backstage. The guards, now visibly shaken, stepped back, their authority crushed under the weight of both military loyalty and public outrage. Marcus remained silent, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed on the stage. He didn't want the moment to be about him. He wanted it to be about Jordan. But deep down, his chest swelled with pride. Not just for his son, but for the bond of men who refused to let him stand alone in the face of injustice. Jordan's name was called. The crowd rose to its feet, clapping louder than they had for anyone else. Marcus watched through misted eyes as his son crossed the stage, head held high, diploma in hand. Jordan didn't know the full weight of what had just unfolded. But he knew one thing: his father stood strong, and so did those who loved him. When the ceremony ended, families spilled into the courtyard, buzzing with conversation. The incident had become the story of the day, overshadowing even the pomp of caps tossed into the air. Some shook Marcus's hand, apologizing for what he endured. Others whispered admiration for the men who stood with him. The guards vanished quietly, their faces pale, their authority stripped away not by force, but by truth laid bare in front of hundreds. The principal, visibly shaken, approached Marcus with apologies, but Marcus only nodded. He had no interest in their regret. What mattered was that his son saw him there, unbroken, proud. Later, as Jordan hugged his father tightly, Marcus whispered, "This is your moment, son. Remember, it's not just about what you achieve, but how you carry yourself when the world tries to push you down." The 6 SEALs lingered for a while, sharing laughter and quiet words. Their presence a reminder that true brotherhood doesn't fade with time or distance. They hadn't just defended Marcus. They had silenced a room poisoned by prejudice and reminded everyone watching of a simple truth. Dignity is not up for debate. The story spread beyond the auditorium. Videos of the standoff circulated online, sparking conversations about racism, respect, and the quiet power of solidarity. For many, it was a wake-up call. For Marcus and his son, it was a painful but powerful reminder that courage often comes not in the heat of battle overseas, but in the quiet halls where everyday injustice takes root. And for those who witnessed it firsthand, one question lingered long after the applause faded. When dignity is threatened in front of us, will we stay seated, or will we stand?